So they asked me to do a keynote speech, and I was thinking, well, what do you talk about? Like, when you go to the Labor Guild, because the Labor Guild is such an amazing organization. Where else do you have sitting at the table teachers, bus drivers, laborers, folks who work, social workers in the prisons, you know, amazing people coming together, trying to make the world a little better, right? And it's a little better in the workplace, it becomes a little better in the home, and when it gets a little better in the home, it gets a little better in the streets, and when it gets a little better in the streets, it's a lot better in the workplace, right? And when we can get there, we get there by working together. We get there through building this solidarity and these bridges. Right? And we are at a really kind of crazy time in the labor movement right now. Right? We're at about 6% union density in the private sector. 6%. We're at about 25% in the public sector. So if you combine that, we're at about 11% nationally, all on union. But everybody knows the public sector, we just took a serious body blow this spring, right? And everybody boo, I'm gonna bring him up, Mark Janis. So Mark Janis, and for those of you who don't know, was a social worker who did, basically went after folks for not paying their child support, decided he could do it alone, sued, and now we have right to work in every state in this country. By the way, the day after, Boo is right, the day after he won, he announced he was retiring. And his brothers and sisters from Aspen got him a cake. They did.
What was in the cake?
The cake said, "We won't miss you."
Really? Right, great.
They didn't invite him to the party either. But labor was expecting a full-on body blow. So I can tell you at SEIU 509, which was majoritively public sector when it comes to who's our members, right? We have 8,500 of them in SEIU 509. We were expecting, at best, to lose 10% of our membership. We figured we'd lose, because the best unions, and if you went to labor notes, if you went to talk with unions all over the country, the ones that were the most successful when Right to Work came in, lost 10%. I can tell you some of my SEIU brothers and sisters who didn't fight before Right to Work came in, lost 70% of their membership. Wisconsin, SEIU functionally doesn't exist. Right? The teachers union actually, thank goodness, took over some of our locals. But we didn't die. I can tell you right now, SEIU 509 has lost 15 members.
Wow.
They're not alone. The teachers union can count on their hands, and I'm talking MTA, AFT. They've lost next to nothing. From what I understand, all the public sector unions in Massachusetts have not seen the drop. Now, out on the West Coast, we shouldn't be comfortable with that, though. We should be darn well scared, because out on the West Coast, there are people going to members' doors and knocking on them and saying, "Hey, I'm here to tell you can drop your dues and give yourself a Christmas bonus in July." They're doing the tactics we do to organize unions to disorganize us. Now, they haven't hit here, but they will, and they're coming, right? And we know from our brothers and sisters in the building trades that when they do come knocking, right, and when they do come to disorganize, because in the 80s and 90s, they came knocking really hard, and our brothers and sisters in the construction unions took some pretty nasty hits. It's hard, and it's a struggle, but if we don't step up and figure out a way to fight, we lose, right? But there's places in this country that have had right to work for a long time, and they've shown that actually doesn't darn well matter. If anything, right to work is a gift. Because when we work together, we got ourselves and we got our union leadership together at 509 and had a hard conversation about whether or not we actually are a democratic union and how we bring more democracy into it. And we've cut huge holes for our membership to start leading in our bargaining and fight back. We took the leadership of folks from West Virginia. And if those of you who don't know, West Virginia is a pretty interesting state, right? Those people are crazy. The teachers went on strike, and they organized it one by one, county by county. One county said, I was going to go on strike. Oh, we're going to go on strike. And they actually they said it as a joke. The background is one group of teachers and union officials like, no, we're going to go on strike. And the other one's like, okay, you going to do it? And the next thing you knew, West Virginia, the teachers in West Virginia were on strike. They moved, and that moved like wildfire. They worked together. They also worked with the state employees union, who did not strike, but did solidarity work and did background work and pushback. They were successful. They got not only 5% raises for themselves, but 5% raises for all the state workers. Right? They did amazing work. In Oklahoma and Arizona, the state workers didn't organize and didn't push back. They got nothing in their contract fights. Whereas the Oklahoma teachers basically just took over the state house, literally, in their elections. And Arizona, that senator that's going to that just won today, that's no accident. That was labor. We did that. Teachers did that. And we pushed back. We can do this. But it doesn't come with a grievance. Our grievances do very little. They hold us in place and hold things in check. But when we figure out a way to get our brothers and sisters together and push back, we can change the world. And we do. And we have. And as labor, we are the perpetual phoenixes, right? We've crashed and burned so many times. We've risen up from those ashes, and we can do it again, and we're doing it. Labor, this last election, we elected close to 400 union members to elected positions. That will help us somewhat, right? That will help us somewhat, but it can't just be the Democratic Party ballot box. It's got to be the union box, right? We got to make sure that we're doing this at home. So when our brothers and sisters at the MBTA are out there fighting, we make sure they don't get privatized, because the social workers at DCF or our brothers and sisters at National Grid, they'll walk that picket line with them, and they'll make it one day longer. Our brothers and sisters who are on the picket line right now at National Grid and at the Marriott, if you haven't had a moment, you can actually give $5 a week to the Marriott strikers. And your $5 is going to help people who have poverty wages fight back. To it if you can. Because there's those little bits of solidarity. And there is, if you are in Boston, there's a Marriott strike line within 6 blocks of the editor, because they're covering the city. It's beautiful. And it's loud. And it's wonderful. And if you join them, they will appreciate it. And those National Grid workers, if you join them, they will appreciate it. And if we stick together and start calling our state reps and saying, why is National Grid still allowed to work in our state? Because if they're allowed to work and they're allowed to do things that endanger my family, right? How many of us live near gas lines? We all do, right? We're all at risk. So this union labor strike affects us not as only as people, but as mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, uncles, and aunts. So if we think about how we as community members can afflict the afflictors, we can make them pay. And we can help our brothers and sisters, and we can move this. And then if you think about the nurses who basically took a statewide union vote for us. Some of us worked really hard to help them. Some of us didn't. That's a lesson learned right there, right? If we didn't, if we basically let the state of Massachusetts vote on unionizing nurses and giving them a statewide contract, and we let our nurses, brothers and sisters down. I can say that as SEIU folks, my union did not get involved, and we should have, because that's big news. We have a lot of repair work to do because there is an anti-union campaign that was brought on our communities, and we have to undo it. But who here's up for that challenge? Your next challenge, close to 40,000 state workers' contracts are up in 12 months. We're going to be coming to you all, because this time we're going to follow the lead of the teachers, and we're going to follow the lead of the nurses, and we're going to follow the lead of our brothers and sisters in these other states. And we're going to say, Charlie, you may have come off as the nice guy, but we're not here to play nice. We're here to play for services for children. We're here to play for services for our elderly. We're here to play for the services for our developmentally disabled. And darn well, Charlie, you're going to pay for them, and you're going to do the right thing. Thank you, guys.